Hey guys, I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to Afro Political TV. In this video, I will be highlighting the presence of COVID-19 in Africa by identifying the 10 countries with the most cases on the continent and how they are managing it. Before I get into this, I must emphasize that I am not a health professional. All of my information are from verified sources, and like always, I will be putting all of my links in the description box. I think it's also important to mention that I will not be referring to any hearsay or rumors that are popular on social media because I don't know if they are true. And as fun as it would be to look into those, it would be quite irresponsible of me to put them in this video. I will say that if you are not taking this seriously, please, now is the time to do so. As of the 27th of March 2020, over 500,000 people around the world have contracted the virus. And those are only cases that governments have been able to confirm. So please, if you do not need to leave your house, please stay indoors and avoid congregating with loads of people. So I've linked a tracker in the description box so you can see how many cases have been confirmed in your country. Over 80% of my viewers on both YouTube and Facebook live in Africa, so I do believe you will find it very useful. Let's get into the video. According to the East African, Cameroon is currently on a semi-lockdown, which has been blamed for the increase in the virus. This semi-lockdown includes a 6 p.m. curfew for restaurants and bars, a ban on overloading public transport, and no more than 50 people at a public gathering. These laws are now enforceable by law, and anyone who does not abide by them could face up to 3 months in prison. However, the Minister of Public Health fears the number may increase as there are 500 other victims waiting to be isolated. In addition, the BBC reported that English-speaking rebel group, the Southern Cameroon's Defense Forces aka SOCODEF, have stated that they will begin a ceasefire in an attempt to prevent spreading of the virus. President Alassane Ouattara has declared a state of emergency. They have closed their borders and reduced the number of international flights. Over 800 citizens have been tested for the virus in the country's capital, Abidjan. In Cote d'Ivoire's second largest city, Bouaké, hand-washing points have been set up at 6 health centres. The Doctors with Borders Corporation is working with Cote d'Ivoire to raise awareness about necessary hygiene rules to prevent further infection. All places of education, including universities, were closed for 30 days starting from March the 16th, and social distancing is also in effect, with emphasis on no handshakes and maintaining at least a 1 meter distance from other people. The Financial Times have reported that Senegal and the UK are developing a 10-minute coronavirus test that costs less than $1. This is being headed by the Senegalese group Diatropics and the British MoLogic in order to combat issues with low-income families having access to tests. They also hope to prevent other companies from possibly benefiting financially from this pandemic. MoLogic medical director has acknowledged that the low costs could compromise the efficiency of the tests, but the kits are being tested in the UK and Wuhan, China. Ghana went from 68 to 132 cases in 24 hours, and as of the 27th of March, they stand at 136 confirmed cases. And the majority of these cases were from people flying into Ghana from other countries. In order to limit the spread, Ghana has closed their borders for 2 weeks. President Nana Akufo-Addo has placed a ban on handshakes, all public gatherings, closure of places of worship, and all places of education. He also released $100 million for the COVID-19 disease response plan. This money will be used to expand infrastructure, biomaterials and equipment, and public education. Finally, the Ghanaian Health Ministry have set up a remote 100-bed facility to quarantine COVID-19 cases. Now, Burkina Faso were already in a dire situation, being one of the poorest countries in the world and also war-torn. With 700,000 people already displaced and a shortage of access to basic amenities like healthcare, sanitation and water, Burkina Faso is extremely vulnerable. The refugee population live together in highly dense camps, which can only increase the chances of spreading, and so the government have been encouraged to include refugees in their response plan. Also, 4 government officials have tested positive for the virus, including the Minister of Education and the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who announced his test results via Twitter. Unfortunately, Burkina Faso's first recorded death was that of 62-year-old Rosemary Compaoré, who was the Vice President of the Parliament. Tunisia is in lockdown mode with a curfew and shutting down of non-essential services until further notice. Tunisia were notably quite swift in acting upon the first case of coronavirus by implementing temperature checks at the airport and placing people arriving from Italy in quarantine. Much like many other African nations, pockets of the country do not have a stable healthcare system, which leaves members of the public vulnerable. On the 19th of March 2020, Morocco declared a state of medical emergency. A 24-hour direct line was set up to safeguard the health of citizens. In addition, King Mohammed VI ordered the government to set up an emergency fund in response to the pandemic. This fund is estimated to amount $1 billion. This money will be used to upgrade the health infrastructure and support the national economy. He also called for both civil and military doctors to work together during the pandemic. Over 10,000 beds have been donated by hotels and the Moroccan Deposit and Management Fund. Like most cases in Africa, Algeria's first reported case was a traveller from Europe, namely Italy. Algerian citizens were in the middle of protesting for political reform when the virus took hold of the country and have been asked to cease all political activity. A night curfew has been imposed on the capital city, Algiers, with plans to implement this in 9 more provinces. The country, however, faces much conflicts between politicians and citizens as they do not trust people in power. This is reflected in the fact that 1,000 Algerians have been left stranded in Turkey due to Algeria announcing that they were halting all international flights. The Turkish have attempted to persuade Algeria to return their citizens, but President Abdelmajid Tebboune called for stranded citizens to simply be patient. With the second highest number of cases in Africa, the coronavirus is having a devastating effect on the Egyptian economy. It has had an effect on their tourism sector, their use of the Suez Canal, and their trade of raw materials with China. The government have opted to give money to the self-employed and workers, as well as reducing interest on bank loans via a rescue package. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli has ordered for an increased number of laboratories to be utilised for immunity tests. A 2-week nationwide curfew has been imposed, and restaurants, bars and mosques have been closed until further notice. The police and military have been used to enforce a 21-day lockdown due to over 1,000 confirmed cases in South Africa. Though South Africa has the most cases on the continent, it has also been reported that they are conducting more tests than any other African nation. The Prime Minister's brother-in-law and billionaire Patrice Motsepe announced that his companies would donate a total of 1 billion rand towards combating the virus. Though millions of South Africans have adhered to the lockdown, there are some who have not, and as a result, the military have used force to attain compliance. This virus poses as a huge threat to the continent. Whilst already plagued with large numbers of malaria and HIV/AIDS victims, healthcare systems within the majority of these countries simply cannot handle such an outbreak. Many governments have opted to pump money into their healthcare systems across the nation, but they can't do this at a quicker rate than the virus is spreading with a lockdown. The number of cases recorded in this video were taken on the 27th of March, and as you can see, the number have increased since then, and they will continue to for weeks, maybe even months to come. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.